I am in full vulnerability hangover mode right now. Yesterday, I was like, I'm going to do this transmission series thing and just show up and say what is actually on my mind. And I've uploaded the podcast for today, and now I'm sitting down and I'm doing the video, and I'm still just like, what is happening? And I've already got some DMs from folks who've listened to the podcast, and they've been like, I cannot believe that somebody as accomplished as you has like this level of vulnerability hangover. And I was like, listen, we all have it. And I have this tendency to just like go out there and say the craziest things and then be like, oh my God, now I have to actually like follow through. And listen, what I want to talk about, like what we really need to understand here is that this vulnerability hangover is the discomfort that we have to accept if we want to grow. And so many of us avoid it because it is ridiculously uncomfortable to go out there and be like bearing your soul in a way that you're not used to, because it brings up so much fear of like not being accepted, of being judged, of like it brings up all those core freaking fears. Even if it's just like, I admitted something on the internet today that is like relatively benign, and yet our lizard brain is like, go back and rewatch it and make sure you didn't sound too stupid. And if you sounded too stupid, you better delete it. And nobody's going to buy from you, and your business is going to fail, and you're going to be destitute, and you're going to have to live in your van. I mean, like I had a thought yesterday where I was like, wow, it's such a good thing that I own a minivan, because after I decided to do this project, I'm going to be living in it because nobody is going to want to work with me again. But here's the truth. Here is the stinking truth, is that every time I have done something absolutely insane like this, my business has grown exponentially. And here's the other truth, is that as soon as I set out to do this, right beside that lizard brain that was telling me this was the dumbest idea and I don't know what I'm getting into and everybody's going to hate this and judge you, was another voice full of divine ideas and thoughts and new energy that I want to bring to this platform. So how can those two things exist at the same time? They can. They absolutely can. And part of our job as leaders in our business, part of our job as soulful, true, authentic communicators is to allow the coexistence of those two things, and then to, with our own agency, choose to listen to one voice over the other. And in this case, I am listening to the divine inspiration voice, and I'm allowing that lizard brain to still be there and say, this is dumb, Erin. Nobody is going to pay attention to you. I'm letting it be there. And I'm just like, cool, dude, hang out, get comfy, but I'm not going anywhere. So the vulnerability hangover is real. And if you want to listen to this morning's transmission podcast, it is definitely down in the description box, or it's in the link in bio, or wherever the links are, where you find links on wherever it is that you're watching this. And I talk about how, we plan our marketing campaigns. We plan our year. We plan our revenue goals. We plan. And we look, I even do this with our team, is that we say, where can we fail? Where can we fail? Before we even begin, we have a conversation about failure. I think it's a valuable conversation, but what we're doing is asking truly, where in this process are we going to start to question our validity? And in business, that is a very solid inquiry. But where this becomes a challenge is if you are your business. I run a production company. Okay. I am a consultant and a mentor on one side for business owners, and in some respects, a coach. I also run a production company. Two very different energies. We talk about coexistence. When we talk about where can we fail on the production side, there are actual things that can fail. Technology can fail. Internet bandwidth can fail. Calendars can fail to line up. That is an actual tactical thing. You can talk about failure at the level of the tactical, for sure. Where you can't talk about failure like that is at the level of authentic transmission. What can't fail is you, the essence of you. So back to where this becomes problematic when we take that concept of failure and discussing failure and hedging against failure when we are a solo operator or when we are a personal brand. Oh, I have so much to say about personal brands, is that we start to then guard against judgment of ourself. And what that does is, instead of how do we fail? Well, we're going to bring 2 extra cords just in case one breaks. Solid idea. 2, I'm only going to say this one specific thing because I know it's socially acceptable and I feel like that is what people expect of me, even though there is this other part of me that is whisper screaming that I want to say this other thing too. If we don't indulge that side of ourselves, we miss out on the resonance that will create the magnetism that will grow our business. And in my previous world, I would have said to you, this is your secret sauce. This is the thing that you want people to say about you behind your back. But the reality is, I have changed my mind. I have changed my mind. And that is why we're doing this transmission series. Now I say, that is the thing that is both your crowning achievement and holding you back. You need to allow it to exist, but you also need to let it be seen. So this process of unraveling, and I said this on the podcast this morning, is like, in my mind, I get these visuals every once in a while. And the visual is this woman, like, it's like a witch. And I fully believe in witch culture. I think it's a thing. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. She is bound to a stake. She is blindfolded. She is gagged. She is wrapped in ropes. She is tied up. She is so bound. And she is bound because society didn't like the truth of what she was doing and saying. And in many respects, she was probably just a healer. She probably just really understood plants. She really understood feminine anatomy and how to birth babies. And yet she was tied up and bound for that. And now all these generations later, we feel that. We feel that binding and we let it be our guide instead of what's actually inside. So this transmission series, didn't expect it to be on YouTube either, is really an invitation to let's talk about how to cut that binding. Let's talk about how to cut the binding and unravel. I'll be back here at some point. In the meantime, subscribe to the podcast daily. The Narrative Advantage podcast, transmission series, October 2025.